this ZZ plant for quite a few years now, and it's really starting to outgrow the pot it's currently in. The whole thing feels a bit unstable every time I move it around, so I thought this would be the perfect excuse to design and 3D print a brand new pot for it. I don't want to make just another simple geometric planter though. I want this one to feel a bit more natural and organic. So I'm going to be using the form tool in Fusion 360 to experiment with some softer shapes and some flowing surfaces. We'll see where the design takes us, and hopefully by the end of this video we'll have something really unique for this plant. So let's jump into Fusion 360 and get started. Okay, so I'm going to start this project with a sketch, and I'm going to choose this plane to start my sketch. And I want to start with a 2-point rectangle from the center, and I'm gonna go for 256 by 256, and that's the size of my build plate. And I can just finish the sketch as it is right now, because I only want to select this outside perimeter of this square. So I'm just gonna double click on one of these lines, and I'm going to move to the form tool, and here I want to create an extrusion. So I'm going to go create extrude, and I want to create the extrusion at 256 again, so 256, which is the full size of my build plate. And onto this I want to get a few more faces, so I'm gonna go to faces maybe 24, and I'm choosing 24 because I'm getting 6 of these faces on each side of the cube, and I want the front faces to be around 6 again. That will give me a nice square pattern. So I'm going to be making this plant pot feel a bit more organic, but at the same time it will have symmetry and it will have a pattern idea. So let's say okay to this, and now I can go and select every second one of these lines. So I'm going to go first one, I'm going to skip it. I'm going to select the second one, double click, and that will select the whole perimeter. I'm going to hold shift and double click the next one and double click the next one. Then I'm going to do the same thing for each face. So I'm going to skip the first one, double click the next one, double click the next one, and keep doing the same thing all the way around my pot. And there we go. Now I have everything selected, and I'm just going to go to modify and edit the form, and I want to grab this center point. And when you grab this center point, everything you have selected you can shrink or enlarge. So in my case I want to shrink everything down, and that will give me a quite organic form, but it also looks like a geometric pattern, so somewhere in between the organic and geometric. And if you guys want to modify this to get it a bit more crazy, you can select a point, for example, and you can just move that point around. You can twist it, you can do all sorts of crazy things. So you can do really interesting things with this. You can create leaves, and that really looks like a ZZ leaf, but I don't want to go that crazy, and I want to keep the things as symmetric as possible. So the only thing I'm going to keep modifying is these points, and the only reason I'm doing that is because at the moment, if I 3D print it like this, these points don't touch the base, and they're going to have lots of support, and I don't think that they're going to look very well. Now with these points I just want to make them just slightly larger, not by much, just a bit more, and I want to drop them down a bit more. So let's make them a bit larger. Okay, I think I'll be pretty happy with that. I'm gonna drop them down a bit more, and yeah, I think they should be okay. So let's say okay to that. And I don't really need to make them the same level with these ones because I'm gonna be using a tool to cut everything. So let's finish this form as it is. I'm pretty happy with this. And I want to close the top and the bottom of this because at the moment it's only one shell body. So I'm gonna go to surface and choose to patch it. I'm gonna choose the top, say okay, and I'm gonna do the same thing for the bottom. There we go. So now I have 3 different bodies and I can just select everything and stitch everything together, and that will give me a pretty solid body. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go back to create a sketch, and I want to create the sketch on the bottom of this, and onto this sketch I want to create a circle about that size and finish the sketch. And from this circle I want to create an extrusion that's gonna go up all the way to the body, and I want to taper this extrusion and go maybe for 12, let's say 13, 15 degrees, 18 degrees. 18 is too much because now it's starting to cut into my shape. So I'm gonna go down one by one. So let's try 17, still too much, 16, still a bit too much, 15, I think 15 degrees is fine. So operation, I'm gonna change from cut to join and then say okay. And now as you can see, there is a tray on the bottom of this shape, and the only thing I need to do now is to make sure this tray is at the same level as these legs. So I think I can go back to my form tool now, and I want to grab the points of every single corner, and I want to drop them down a bit. So I'm going to move that, and I want to drop them down a bit. So I'm going to drop them about that much, say okay to that, and then I can create a shape onto this plane, and I want to go from the center line, and I'm going to draw a rectangle. Say finish sketch to this, and if I select my profile, then I'm going to say finish form, and I can go extrude, and I want to extrude symmetrical, and I'm going to just cut everything from the bottom. So that will give me a nice flat surface in the corners and where the pot is going to touch the build plate to have a bit more stability. Now probably I will have to have supports onto this one and onto some of these. We'll see when we get there. If we need to, we can just print some supports, but I'm pretty sure for the rest of it we don't need any supports. Okay, so let's separate the top because we only have one body now, and I want to have a drip tray. So when I give my ZZ plant water, it will not stay into the pot. So I'm going to create a construction plane, and I want to offset it from this bottom plane by, let's say, 45 mil. And now I can take this body and split it using this construction plane. And I'm going to select the splitting tool, and this is my tool. Let's say okay to that, and okay. So my construction plane is too low at 40, So I'm going to change it to, let's say 55. Let's say 50. Let's see if 50 works. Okay, so let's have a look at the bottom. I think that would work pretty well. Let's hide the, let's rename the bodies so we know which one it is what. So this is going to be the tray, and this is going to be the pot. And I'm also rearranging these ones just because I like to have the objects in the same order. So the pot is on the top and the tray is on the bottom. So let's hide the top and see what this is. And we already have a few problems here. So I think our plane should be slightly higher. So I'm going to go back to the plane and say the plane should be 51 millimeters. Okay, and that should solve our cut through problems. Okay, and let's make a cut into this tray. So I want to make this circle sketch visible. I don't want this sketch, and I don't want to see the construction plane, and I want to create a sketch onto the surface of this. And here I want to take a circle that is going to be slightly thicker than that circle. Then I'm going to offset this circle by -4 millimeters, which will create a profile that I can extrude by 4 millimeters. Okay, so that will be my alignment guide between the tray and the pot. That will give it the stability onto the pot, if it makes sense. So I'm going to fillet these edges, and I'm going to fillet them by 1 millimeter. Let's cut the actual hole where the water is going to sit in the drip tray. So I'm going to go back to my last sketch, and following that line, I'm going to make it slightly more inside of that line. So let's take a circle, and I'm just going to go somewhere about there. And now I can just take this profile, and I know the size of this drip tray is now at 51 millimeters. So I'm going to go extrude by -48. So that will give me 3 millimeters thickness on the bottom. So that's a pretty good space for all the extra water to drip in. Okay, now I'm pretty happy with this drip tray, and the one thing I can do now is to start working onto the pot. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to shell it by 3 millimeters. So I'm getting an error that says the selected body appears to have been shelled. Please check that this section is correct. Okay, so that means we have a problem inside. So let's have a look inside and see what the problem is. So I'm going to go to selection analysis, and I want to inspect this plane. And there we go. We have, for some reason, we have a little thing inside. So one thing I can do here is go to this. I'm going to say okay to this, and I'm going to choose one of these planes, this one, and I'm going to create a sketch onto this, and I'm going to take a rectangle, make it the size of this. Okay, finish this sketch, and I want to take this rectangle. I'm going to go from the left side on orthographic view, and I'm going to extrude this symmetrical, and I just want to go all the way to that end. That will give me, if I select join, that will fill up all of that hole that's inside, which honestly I don't know why it happened. It might be something to do with the creating of the form. So let's go back to perspective and let's hide the selection analysis. Oops. So that was a bit too much, that extrusion. So I'm gonna go back to extrude and maybe instead of 100 go 85, 95, 94. Okay, so 94 should be fine in my case. And I'm gonna say enter to that, and let's see if we can shell this profile now. So let's go to shell, and I'm gonna say I want this shell to be 3 millimeters. Press enter, and there we go. I think this is gonna be really good. The one thing I know is that the bottom thickness of this is 3 millimeters. So if we go and inspect this, we're gonna realize that this is, that's 1, 2, the distance is 3 millimeters. And 3 millimeters is not gonna be enough because we have this gray border at 4 millimeters. So we need to increase the thickness of the bottom of the pot. To do that, I'm gonna go to press pull, and I'm gonna select this face. And for offset type, I want to make sure it's on new offset instead of modify existing feature or automatic. I'm gonna select the new offset, and I'm gonna go for 3 millimeters. So that extra 3 millimeters will give me the perfect space for that guide rail I've created onto the tray for this one. So now that I have all of that, I want to combine them, and I'm going to select the operation to be cut, the target body to be the pot, and the tool body to be the tray. I'm also going to tick keep tools. So I want to keep both of these tools and say okay to that. So now if you look at the bottom of the pot, now I have a guide for that alignment rail. So I'm going to fillet these edges as well. I'm going to go for 1 millimeter, and that will simply give me a bit more space for the tray to go in. So let's have a look at the selection analysis quickly, and you'll see what I mean by that. So now if you look at this, that will allow this to go in. So I think this is going to be a bit too tight at the moment, so I'm going to hide the tray for a second, and I want to take this and press pull it by minus 0.2, and I'm going to go for the outside at same thing, press and pull, and I'm going to go minus 0.25. So it's almost 0.50 clearance, which is plenty enough for the whole thing. Okay, so that's my ZZ plant pot, and it looks pretty good as it is. And the only thing I need to do now is to actually make a few holes for the drainage. So let's go to hide the selection analysis, and I'm going to go to this profile and just create another sketch with some circles in it. So I'm going to do one at 8 millimeters, and I'm going to do another one in the middle at 8 millimeters. And I'm going to take this and create a circular pattern, and I'm going to choose the center point in the middle and maybe get about, I don't know, 8 holes. That should be fine, and say okay. Now I want to select every single one of these, finish sketch first, and I want to select every one of these and extrude everything by minus 10 millimeters, and that will cut into the bottom of this pot. And yeah, this is the whole thing. So I have the pot with the channel for guidance for the tray. I have the hole for draining the extra water. Now I do have the tray as well, which is all there. And yeah, I think we can send this to the 3D printer. And I'm gonna save this quickly, and I'll see you into Bambu Studio for some settings for the 3D printer. So for this print, I'm gonna be using this Arion Green PLA, standard PLA. And there's no other reason for it besides the fact that I have a brand new roll of this. And I have the feeling it's going to take a lot of PLA to print. And I do like the green, especially because it blends in with the place where my ZZ plant normally lives, which is right next to the fish tank. So the settings for this print should be pretty simple. I'm going to change from P2S to A1. And I'm going to change the PLA basic from Bambu to generic PLA. I want to change the color as well, so I'm gonna go for one of these greens, maybe a bit darker, maybe like that, and say okay. And what else? I'm gonna go for a standard PLA 0.24 draft, and that will give me a bit of a bigger layer height, but it'll print a bit faster. And I also want to change the speed of the walls from 200 to 100. And that's just because that's the maximum recommended speed for this PLA by the manufacturer. So it says on the box, maximum speed 100 millimeters per second. And what else? I'm gonna go for quality. I'm gonna go seam in the back. Then I want to go for strength, and I'm going to change from 2 walls to 3 walls just to give it a little bit extra strength. And let's see what else. I'm going to go back to quality and change from classic wall generator to Arachne. I'm going to change from inner outer to inner wall, outer wall, inner wall. And this is basically hybrid between these two. And this option prints the inner wall first for support, then the outer wall for surface quality, then the remaining inner walls for the rest of the print. So this often gives you a better balance between cleaner outer surfaces and stronger walls, and also better overhang performance. So for plant pots and general decorative prints, this hybrid option is usually a very good choice to start with. So let's see what else we need to change. I'm going to drop in the pot and see how much it's gonna take to print this. So let's drop in the pot, and that is a very, very big print. And let's slice this. If you guys want to download this plant pot for yourself, I'll be uploading this file to my Patreon completely free, so make sure you check the links in the description below. Okay, so that takes 19 hours and 2 minutes, and it's gonna use 654 grams of PLA. And this is one of the reasons I've decided to get a brand new roll of PLA. But I think I can decrease this time by changing the strength from 3 to back to 2, and it might be enough because this is not a part that needs to be extremely strong, and by the looks of it, it should be pretty good with just 2 walls. So it's gonna have 2 on the outside, 2 on the inside, plus the infill. I think it should be all right. So let's slice this at 2 walls and see the difference. Okay, so that's 16 hours and 40 minutes at 2 wall loops, and I think that should be pretty good because we have quite a lot of infill. And yeah, I think we're gonna save this. Let's have a look at the infill on the bottom. Yeah, that looks fine. And okay, so let's save this profile, and I'm gonna delete this. I'm gonna delete this and let's drag in the tray, and let's slice this tray as well and see what's going on here. So this is 363 grams at total time of 11 hours and 19 minutes. And I think that's mainly because there's a lot of infill. So I'm just going to drop the infill density for the gyro down to 5%. And let's slice this plate again. And that's going to be 8 hours and 19 minutes. So we saved about 3 hours just by changing the infill density. Now this infill is fairly strong, and it actually doesn't really need to be stronger than that. And yeah, let's send this to print and see how everything turns out. And this is it, guys. The pot is finally finished, and honestly I think it turned out really nice. It feels much more stable for the ZZ plant, and I really like the organic shape we end up with. I hope this video helped you in some way, maybe gave you a few ideas or inspired you to experiment a bit more with the form tool in Fusion 360. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!